time. Well, we are skipping Braxis and Volskaya, going into BOE. Feliz, I think this one, when they couldn't really control the macro in game 1 and 2, I was wondering their map choice. But this game 4, BOE, I think that really suits their playstyle right now, where they love to team fight.
Yeah, it's a 2-lane map. You're looking for control over the objective via team fighting, and drafting is very basic on this map. It's not a whole lot to it. So even if the Medivh gets banned, I think they could draft a draft that looks that suits their playstyle.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know why the cameras are always coming back to us. Maybe they're taking some time
To try to fix the observer bug where we can't see the heroic cooldowns.
Please.
It's a little bit sad. Every time I'm like, cooldown's like shorter than I remembered. Oh yeah. Oh.
It's always available for all 10, but it should be on cooldown, and we can kind of tell which one's off, which one's on. But of course, always better to have the actual number, so we can.
Imagine Uther like with a Divine Shield, but he has no cooldown. First of all, Divine Shields himself just to make sure he can Divine Shield then all 4 other people. And then the second it runs out, you just to keep Divine Shielding everybody like every time they run out. That'd be a fun little game.
That could be a fun brawl. Having super low cooldowns on all skills.
What if you had, okay, let's think about this for a second as we go into this draft. What if you had a brawl where Uther had no cooldown Divine Shield, so you had to keep everybody alive, but everyone on the enemy team, yeah, but on the enemy team, they're
5 Genjis.
No, well, that'd be scary. But on the other team, it's like they do 4 times as much damage as you, so you have to keep everybody invulnerable all the time, or your people just basically instantly die. That'd be interesting. I don't know. I you know what? It turns out I'm not a game designer. Maybe that idea is pretty terrible. Let's go to this draft. Witcher looks pensive here as we look to again ban the Garrosh. That means that there's a high chance we're seeing a Medivh or a Maiev in this game. If Ace first picks a Malfurion here and gives the Medivh to Feliz, then I think they're going to regret it. Okay, they take it themselves.
So I was thinking Feliz actually banning something else, like Malfurion instead, leaving Medivh and Maiev open, because it was very likely that Ace was going to take Medivh instead. And if Feliz, they will get whatever's left, Medivh or Maiev. And seeing from all the bans on the Maiev, I just don't think Feliz is prepared for that Maiev team comp at all. Because there are lots of chances for them to actually not ban Maiev, let that through. But in this case, I think it's going to hurt them a lot more. They pick up a very good pair, Hanzo Malfurion, that fits the map. But I think still thought that was a very good possibility coming into Game 4 draft.
Do you think they will grab the Diablo here? Are they going to go for the same combo?
Not the best battleground for Diablo combo.
Yeah,
there are some rocks and walls, but it's a lot tougher, I would say, on this map.
This is the map where we saw the first Diablo, right? With Gondar. They still were able to make it work against the Tracer, but I do agree it's a lot tougher. The Medivh will make it easier. The great pairing that we saw with the Diablo Genji last game in the second rotation was so perfect because it allowed you to have the flexibility to... See, this is so perfect. It allows you to, if they ban the Uther because of your Genji, then you get to... then you still have this pairing, right? Like, if you ban the Diablo before this, obviously, like in the other way this was done, in the Infernal Shrines game, then you get the Uther. So they have to ban the Uther now. It's taken in a faster rotation than second ban. But you have the luxury of massive damage with stuns here. So the Genji is not about the Dragon Blades.
But does Ace know how to play Uther? They never played Uther with... Gaming never played Uther. So even though that it makes sense, I don't think it fits what the team they're going against. I think still against this, Malfurion was the best. Well, Malfurion is taken, so Some other support could have been a good, better choice.
I mean,
maybe even a Regar.
Stukov? Yeah,
Yes.
Stukov is a good choice. Tyrael gets banned. I'm wondering when Tyrael is going to reappear because there's a lot of... Honestly, let's think about it. There's a lot of shenaniganry going on here. And don't tell me that's not a word. We're seeing all these crazy combos right now with the Leyline into the Sulfura Smash / Diablo APOC, which we've seen so many times before. All of these wonky combos and things you could do with Medivh, where you portal, you're going to a specific location, you're trying to get in there and do some damage, get some picks. Tyrael just removes all of that.
Everything.
Well, nice try, but actually every person standing in this space cannot be touched by damage or CC. So the Tyrael ban makes a lot of sense because of that. The Tyrael would have been the great pick in our previous series, if you remember the BOE game on Game 3 where the Maiev was allowed through. They picked Arthas. Tyrael would have been perfect for that, for negating all that damage. Just because a hero's primary function is level 1 talent to give 100 shields was nerfed to 75 does not mean Tyrael needs to drop to the bottom of the wastebasket. I feel he's very strong here, and this is actually a very intelligent ban by Ace.
A slight nerf last weekend with the shield to 75%, but I don't think that was the most impactful patch against Tyrael. I think it's mostly due to what your team wants to do in terms of team fight. Used to be one of the best pairs, along with Sonya and Greymane, when they wanted to dive in. A lot more for the teams like Tempest to actually use Tyrael, but not as much for these two teams. Glug would actually play Tyrael a few times.
Yeah, true. Tyrael's a very difficult hero to execute, so when you lower the skill cap, you decrease the playmaking potential. Artanis and Stukov will be the final picks, so this is somewhat similar to what we saw in the BOE game earlier, except it was Maiev, Garrosh, Junkrat, the fillers. This draft, I feel, doesn't know exactly what it's trying to do. It's got the Artanis for split push power, race potential. That's Diablo for some combos with the APOC and also lockdown of high mobility heroes. Stukov is going to be good for long, drawn-out fighting. But their only DPS is really the Genji, so there isn't going to be a whole lot of long, drawn-out fighting. It's going to be Diablo kills somebody, or they lose the fight. Swaps can be a really big factor here. You can see follow-up lines after the Leyline seal. But draft feels a little bit all over the place. It's half of KSV Black's draft from BOE last series, and it's half of the Infernal Shrines draft from Feliz last game. Well, when you have to pick one tank, and you've got all the options in the world, you're just gonna pick Muradin because you're OJ, and that's the only tank player the only tank hero that you play. And we'll see if it works out better this time than it did on Dragonshire.
I was possibly thinking ETC, but it is going to be a comfort pick because ETC can actually provide some room with the base melt. When Diablo charges in, you can push that Diablo away, so making sure that your ally is not grabbed to the other side. You can actually time that pretty well with an ETC. It's tough, but if you have lots of experience against Diablo, it is very possible. I thought that was a great pick, possibly coming in, but it is going to be Muradin, regardless.
That it is. Let's head into game 4. See if Ace can bring us to that 5th and final match. OJ on the Muradin here. Going to be very difficult to win the race, even with the Artanis. Amateur opponent locked in against the Hanzo Greymane. Wolfheart means that Greymane will have a very short cooldown of his W at all times. So, gonna be tough.
Let's see Medivh. They really have to wait for that level 10 mark. Have that silence. So OJ has to be careful once again. Not the root this time, so it'll be easier to make an escape.
Yeah, if he gets swapped into a silence, there's things he could do. Oh, Rush is going to relic this healing fountain. He has not been scouted yet. Did almost aggro that sentry cannon tower, but is going to get away with this for now because Feliz is pushing so hard. he's going to get away with it. The problem is they're pushing really hard.
Yep.
And they're doing a lot of damage.
They can do a lot more, as we had this happen in Korea 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah.
And so far, whenever the team tried this type of strategy with Genji, I think I have my research correct. 0% win rate.
I believe so. It was mostly done by Relic, so one of our lower tier teams, but stronger than these two.
I do not have the Caldor stats, but still, I think everyone remembers every single time this happened.
The problem with doing it, well, most of the time it was on BOE when it was picked by KSP Black. That was the team that has dealt with the most Relicing, so to speak, is the term that Jacob and I used to describe what Relic started to do in HGC Korea. But it works well if you can have a close fight over the Immortals, because your opponents will have to walk further to use their healing fountains. But when we're looking at supports of Stukov and Malfurion, where you have long sustained healing anyways, it's not as big of a deal. But in the KSP Black games, the fights were never close, so they never had even any interest in going to tap for heal. So that's why it wasn't very successful.
Yeah, and the team that had the Genji that used the Relic strat was against these types of burst damage that Feliz has, and they are ready to just out-soak this one before 10. Ace, with that strategy, if they want to drag this into a long game and make sure that Feliz takes longer of a time to use that fountain on the top or the bottom, Ace can actually drag this game out to a long one, get that level 10, maybe all the way up to 20.
Yeah.
But they have to know that. They have to really use that strategy to the maximum. And
well,
so far, they are getting pushed.
They're getting pushed really hard at the moment. They are late on the camp timing, so this is actually extra damage coming through this semi-permanent wave. They have Medivh, but it's only just going to be useful defensively when the wave is this strong, pushed against them. In fact, the Shaman camp actually got aggroed by the fort, got caught in fort range here, how hard they pushed this. First Immortal phase now of the game, online at 3 minutes as Hanaten is working in here. Artanis not even in position yet to try to race.
Swap right onto that root stun, nicely done. Not going to be a kill. Rush was waiting to go in, but there was that rotation from Feliz.
Okay, here's a big commitment here with the silence. That's going to be a dead Hanzo.
Perfect target to have that CC connect with the silence. No chance of escaping with a Hanzo there.
Well, this is a good way to get back into this. They were losing the Immortal race very hard, but they committed to the defense. They committed with the Medivh portals to come in there, grab that Hanzo with the Diablo, and blow him up. Good silence to prevent him from going over the wall. Rush going to go home and get health. Not even going to use the well to tap for mana. Lol. It's like funny that it actually just goes home instead. That middle healing well still just continues to be irrelevant in Korea. Well, the race is still being won by Feliz. They're going to invade. Hero is trying his best to eliminate as many shields as he can, but just won't be able to compete against this with Hanzo and Greymane.
Dortoss not going to be there when there's more than enough damage to get the kill onto OJ. Has not even having his best day onto his Moradin.
Hanaten trying to come in there and commit. They are going to get the last shots there with Hanzo to get the win on the Immortal race. They will lose the fight, but they win the war, which is the more important factor here. And because of the damage is burst on the side of Ace, despite the fact that they were able to relic the healing fountain early, they didn't actually get anything out of it. Their kills are burst like this. Silence comes in with all the CCs, they get a kill, the fight's over. If they were a more poke-oriented comp, it would be more impactful. Either way, they now have to defend.
Yep, Sonya Artanis just doing 1v1 at the bottom. Immortal with the shield, now without the shield going into melee. We'll be opening up the wall, so not the worst case scenario for Feliz when they actually have their own poke. Ooh, Rush playing with fire from the side.
I'm just going to do as much damage as they can here. Safe range right now for Frankel. Aimer being a little bit greedy, but they had enough sustain to make sure that that was going to be okay. Hanaten staying down here the entire time so they don't lose any experience. Looks like they're going to make a play for the top neutral camp. This is a risky one against a Medivh composition, but it's not scouted actually. Instead of scouting this, Medivh is headed bottom, or was headed bottom to try to kill Sonya, but she's playing safer. She's already back. So the whole, look at the minimap, the whole rotation of Ace is wasted. It's a waste of time. They lose the camp, they lose the top fort, and they accomplish nothing during the interim because they were being indecisive.
They get the camp, but it's, I think it could have been a lot faster if they wanted to push for this one. Which also gives time for Feliz to come down, actually not even getting the entire wall, because they were late on the initial approach with the camp and the 5-man push here. Goes OJ, misses that Stone Bolt. Meanwhile, their camp is pushing top, so they don't have to overextend.
Oh, there's a kill onto the Muradin. OJ increases his death count here in HGC Korea 2018, but top push here, more important, more effective, damaging that keep wall, helping to push Feliz to a faster level 10. I'm gonna have this second camp now. Only a little bit of damage to that keep wall, but still significant. Forces the rotation away, allows this camp to be taken safely, allows the safe soak bottom for Frankel so that they can get that 10 first for the in 10 seconds to be spawning Immortals.
Well, Wolf, we liked to talk about the players and what they're good at, what they're not really the best at. But in terms of OJ's Muradin today, as a tank player, below 6.5, I would say.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to be up to IGN standards.
There's a new standard now, but
yeah,
not even the old one. Oh, level 10 Ace.
Okay.
Has it available, so making that big rotation, but very slow.
They're going to rotate down now, collapse onto this. Ace just... I can't imagine a world in where they win this Immortal unless they get a team wipe. It's going to have to be KCB getting a pick, but look at how careful Feliz is positioned. They do threaten with the Diablo at the front with the Raven Medivh, so that forces Feliz back, so they gain control. They still don't get that pick. Luckily for them, Hanzo is it's very difficult for Hanzo to get in position to actually chunk down the red side Immortal, but
So
getting there.
If we were talking about the pokes and the potential of going for the racing for Immortal, well, a lot more poking from Feliz. Ace, you really need to go in and make that initiate. Poking in for now, looking for that angle.
Oh, the follow-up arrow there right after the protection, doing a little bit of extra damage. The swipe's coming through. Massive swap onto OJ, but Yetsuka can put him where he wants to be. Drops down the Avatar. He's polybomb, but he's still healthy enough. He's going to get away. Hero now ends up very low himself. Doesn't have the sustain and the healing that Muradin does on his passive to get out, so he's going to want to leave. Misses the follow-up swap there onto Frankel. This is going to be about an 80% shielded Immortal. As the trades come through, that is going to be this second Immortal, now heavily shielded, heading towards the bottom lane. And this fight isn't over yet. We got the kill here on Medivh, got stuck and body blocked out to the left side. KCB is going to lose his souls. Oh, I'm sorry. Caster Blessing in this case.
Caster Blessing in this case, yes. Even Rush. Oh my goodness.
Well, that
Full
was
shielded Immortal.
Still 3 kills. The Immortal is going to be at range for a long time, as you said, because it's fully shielded, pretty much, 80%. Very important that Diablo keeps his souls, though. That was huge. If he actually died there, he was going to be much weaker for the rest of the game, very likely, if things continue as they are now.
Even with that, almost died and got multiple kills to level lead for Feliz. Great silence positioning. Now they have to make the engagement by APOC on cooldown.
Okay, Tranquility coming up right now. The Polybomb ignored for the most part. Oh, huge stun here onto Hero from the Immortal. He's getting burst down by Hanzo. Destroyed there by Frankel as he continues to close the distance. Just have to avoid this APOC. It's not paired with anything. No combo usage here. Looks like Ace picked this Medivh because they thought it was strong, but they didn't know how to use it. And that is going to be the end of this keep. Ace should be able to defend if they execute the defense well. It's tough against the Sonya composition, but they have a blind with Hero, assuming it's not on cooldown, because we don't actually have that today for some reason. It's bugged.
Aimer going in. There's a
Polybomb.
polybomb.
They need
Maybe
to
a
do
kill
faster.
onto Aimer, but okay. They can do stay do
They
after
need
stay.
Hanaten.
OJ only doing damage down to 10%.
There's the blind. Hanaten needs to be taken out faster. He does not, and that is going to be the series. Going over to Feliz, taking the 3-1. At least for today, OJ's Muradin win rate will slightly increase after this last game. Very much an unpracticed Medivh comp. No leyline APOC combos. No good crisp execution. We saw the one real good kill on the Hanzo, and after that, the Medivh Diablo did nothing for the squad. You know, when I was a kid, I remember playing with older cousins in video games, and whenever my cousins beat me at, I don't know, Mario Kart or other Super Nintendo games, I always felt like whatever character they picked must have been the reason, and I'd always lock it in right afterwards.
Yes.
But you know, it was never true. It was just that they were older and more experienced.
And better
and the
mechanically.
better players, better mechanically than me.
Better understanding of the game and everything
And
overall.
I feel like this is a case of, well, you know, we really haven't been practicing the Medivh that much. We've been banning it instead, and we've got an opportunity to play it, and we just simply are not well versed at it. For Ace here,
Hey, the relic strategy. Still 0%.
0% indeed. Did not work out for them. It cost them a wall in the early game, but it wasn't the reason why they lost. But yeah, it still just has not been effective.
Well, most of the time, if you have the Genji, of course, go for the hero damage and possibly look for your chance to get your reset. But not in this case. And really costed them, I wouldn't say that costed them the game, but no teams that are doing it are making use of it in their strategy. And not having the lane line, I think there were some areas where you can actually use the lane line. Maybe he thought it was just not possible, just knowing the battleground is just very open in terms of space compared to all the other maps. But even with that polybomb, it never really matched with the APOC. APOC pop first sometimes, polybomb used in a hurry sometimes, and basically if you are going for that wombo combo but wasting it, you cannot win the team fight. You're really throwing your chances away.
We have to ask the question of why was the Diablo Medivh pick the pairing? Why was that a thing? Was it because they wanted to use Leyline Seal APOC combo? The answer, for reasons you just described, was probably no. Was it for the ability to portal Diablo in and get a pick? They got one kill that way, just one, realistically throughout the entire game.
Hanzo, yes, which was great when they made that initiation.
So what else did it accomplish? The polybombs were one time, I think it spread, and only once, and in the bottom push where they had already lost 2 members, so it was like, I hope this keeps spreading or we're going to lose a game kind of situation. They lost the game, by the way. But the synergy wasn't there to portal over walls or portal into team fights to kill the backline. That wasn't there. We didn't see the APOC, the Leyline Seal. It just felt like a pick that wasn't well practiced, they thought was high tier, and that it was something that no matter who's got the Medivh, it's going to be our win. It felt that way, and I know that that's very much oversimplifying the situation, but from the outside looking in, with no knowledge of what was discussed in that draft, it just felt like they thought, okay, we were destroyed by this, let's run it, and it just wasn't well executed.
They fell. They fell pretty hard on the concrete, on the BOE, on the rocks. Diablo fits the map, fits the battleground. You have Medivh, but once you do not have the teamwork, and feels like I am seeing things. I don't think that it was practiced. I think it's just lack of coordination, which means lack of practice, very likely. And Ace not really seeing any changes. I think everything follows into that line where we had another team called
Raven?
Yes. Are we following that path, Wolf?
I hope not. I hope not. Well, if they looked really, they had some smart moments in their draft today. They had some really good moments 2 weeks ago in week 6, where I felt like, wow, massively improved during the break for Eastern Clash. Really well practiced. They will be relegated, or they will. Sorry, have to go through relegation matches.
Hey,
the Crucible.
You don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, I think with this loss, actually, it's mathematically impossible for them not to go to the Crucible. So they will. I'm pretty sure with this loss, they will go to the Crucible no matter what. Even if Miracle lost every single game from here on out, and they won, I think they would still go. Like, it's possible if Miracle lost that Feliz would not go, but I think that Ace cannot. There's no way that for two other teams to go down there. Only Miracle is possible to go to that.
Possibly, and they also have pretty hard matchups later on, from what I know. So it can be very hard. Maybe they are 100% going to Crucible. I will do the math tonight and bring it back to you guys tomorrow, very likely. But in terms of Open Division teams, there are a few good teams in Open Division right now, really following up with the meta.
Yeah, remember, guys, that Ace was undefeated in Open Division going into Crucible last year, so they were big favorites coming into the season as teams that would at least outperform in the Crucible against Raven and RRR, and they were able to do so. They crushed the Crucible matches. I think they won with a 4-0, if I'm not mistaken. It was a long time ago. So they earned their spot into this tournament, but since then, it has just been a rocky road. Feliz and Gluck came out of nowhere. Gluck getting the spot after Mighty disbanded. They came out of nowhere and have really been improving. Blossoms looked stronger. And this team that a lot of people were excited for has just not lived up to expectations just yet. This was their best map, controlling the macro, controlling the pressure, and winning really good team fights against the composition of Feliz. This was really good polybomb usage on this map. They use it in these choke points really well. And it looks much more practiced than at least the Diablo Medivh.
It was a good place, location for them to fight on. Not the BOE one that we saw. It was a lot tougher for them to actually get that spread out. There's that combo. This is what we should be seeing.
Yeah. It just felt like they tried to emulate what Diablo Medivh is supposed to do without understanding how it works or practicing that execution. And obviously, as a result, the execution you're going to see in some highlight clips in the next map was just not up to par. Let's see which ones we get to see.
Level 10 fight.
Okay, this is a Rush's Hearthing in the middle of this, so cannot actually peel. Medivh gets caught, destroyed. This fight's already over. There's not much else for us to analyze here. Artanis swaps into his death. It was a messy game.
Rush comes in trying to harass the retreat, but he's the one actually who dies right after.
Well, we are going to have an MVP interview. It was OJ, according to VSL. I will never call him the MVP for today's match, but you can translate the interview for us.
Okay, first, congrats, of course. Well, let's hear what you have to say after the match.
많이 준비했다면 준비해가지고 깔끔하게 3대 0을
terms of
이기고 싶었는데
preparation,
용해둥지 맵에서 좀 많이 실수 제가
and I think,
못했거든요. 그래서
and
왜
personally talking, I don't even know why I'm doing the interview because I died so many times, especially in the Dragonshires.
기분 좋게 그래도 이긴 것 같아요. 네, 깔끔하게 마지막에.
But in terms of preparation that we did, I think we had a clean game at the end, so it was overall very good.
그런 부분에서 좀 아쉬움이 남는 건가요?
뿐만 아니라
You having any disappointments about today's play?
탑 갱킹 당하는 상황 그리고 제가 많이 못 봐준 게 많은 것 같아서
And even top, when our solo lane was often ganked, and I couldn't really help with the rotation too much. And not just that, there are a lot, but there are lots of disappointments with today's game. And OJ, when we talk about your name, it's always Garrosh. Garrosh or Muradin.
부정은 못 하시는 거죠?
You're not denying.
제가 사실
네.
아니 사실 티렐 뭐 디아블로
Tyrael, Diablo, Johanna, I'm okay with those. But in terms of what I want to do, and I can't really cover for my teammates as well, I think. So that's why I go towards those picks, Garrosh and Muradin, a lot more.
하루 와가지고 3세트 동안 요한남하고 가고 싶어요.
I actually want to come and play Johanna 3 times and win all 3. But I think it's it's much tougher for teammates to actually be peeled by my play, be covered by my play. So you're kind of blaming your teammates in a way, right? Yes? Yes?
그리고 영웅 리그에서도 안 한다고 이대영 해설이 또 얘기도 했었는데
네, 잘 안 하죠.
And you saw your Diablo today.
새롭게 꺼내서
a new card from
윤재
you.
선수가 과연 잘할 수 있을까?
And we were wondering if you're
네.
그 꺼내게
good
되는
at
이유가
Diablo
있을까요?
at all.
아,
Was there a
그것도
reason
저희
behind it?
팀원들이
네,
상대가 디아블로면 무섭다.
네.
배나기도 아깝다.
Honestly, we knew that Diablo could be a threatening hero against them, against Ace.
하는 것보다 그냥 5명 여기다 다 앉혀가지고 각자 이야기를 듣는 게 더 나을 것 같은데.
I think
이거
instead of having OJ,
뭐 그런
having
거
all
안
five
하고
members
바꾸거나 그런 거 아니죠?
scratching
너무
each
좋죠.
other in the
너무 좋아요.
interview
너무
could be
좋아요.
a
네.
네.
great
괜찮죠?
interview actually.
인터뷰 끝나고도.
쟤네가 괜찮을지.
알겠습니다. 일단은 경기를 에이스와 치르는 거잖아요.
네.
지금 오늘 또 마무리를 했고.
And there was a big match
그리고
against the Ace for you
강등권에
guys.
있는 팀이에요, 사실.
And you are near that crucible line.
각오가 좀 남달랐을 것 같은데.
I think today's match really,
그렇죠, 아무래도. 네.
네.
you had a different mindset coming into tonight's match.
여기서 지면
네.
우리가 국내 리그에서 제일 못하는 팀이다.
If we lost
이런 못이
today,
박힌다.
we will
라는
be the
마인드로
worst team
막아보고
officially
있습니다.
in HGC Korea. So that was the kind of mindset that we had going into tonight's match.
이겼다라고 하면은 플레이오프를 갈 수 있는
네.
가능성이 조금 더 올라갔는데
네.
지금 같은 경우는 뭐 남은 경기들 뭐 템페스트 발리스틱스도 있고
And
그걸 뭐 잡아낸다면 자력으로 갈
it's
수
going to be
있습니다.
tough because later on you have to go
지금은 뭐
against
팀 내에서
Tempest and
어떻게
Ballistics.
우리 플레이오프 갈 수 있다 아니면은
Do you think it's possible for you to
어려울
actually
것 같다.
climb up a little bit higher?
조금이 아니라 좀 많이 어려워.
Honestly, I think it's very hard.
그래도 저희가 플레이오프를 못 가는 한이 있더라도 그래도 저희가
Even if you can't really make it
연습 안
into the
하고
playoff,
무리하지
그렇죠.
않고, 예. 최대한 한 세트라도 따기 위해서
we will
열심히
actually practice really hard to actually win even a single set, single game.
네.
그래서 플레이오프는 많이
from any
힘들지만
team.
그래도 끝까지
So playoff
연습해서
seems like a
한
really
세트 좋은 경기
hard
만들어보자.
goal
이렇게
realistically,
얘기하고
but we
있어요,
will
저희
still
팀은.
practice a lot, prepare a lot for the later games.
개인적으로 플레이오프가 어렵긴 한데 불가능은 아니라는 거죠. 팀원들
But you're
사이에서도.
still saying it's not impossible.
아 불가능해요.
Oh, it's
남아
impossible.
있는 경기들 때문에.
네, 좀 힘든 것 같아요.
Yeah,
근데
so I
이게
think the
계산을
later
해보면은
matchups are super hard.
그러니까 템페스트 발리스틱스가 워낙에 어려우니까 그런 얘기가
네,
Well,
네.
Tempest and
네,
Ballistics,
네,
of
네.
course, they're tough matchup for you.
여기서 더 승리를 못 쌓고
But if Miracle can't really
남은 경기에서 템페스트
win any more
발리스틱스
matches,
남은 경기를 이긴다라고 하면은 동률이거든요. 세트는
and you'll
계산을
be actually tied up with Miracle,
계산을 안 했구나.
really?
제가 있을 때는 안 됐거든요.
안 됐나요?
When I did the
일단
math,
뭐
I
이건 다시
couldn't really
참고해
come up,
보겠습니다.
but
네. 그러면은
you didn't even do the
상대편을
math?
지금 좀
That's what
생각을
Low Prime
하고
is
있는
saying.
건데, 네. 오픈 디비전 팀들이랑 맞붙잖아요.
네네네.
좀
Of course, going towards that Crucible, you will be faced against the new Open Division teams.
하면은 뭐 아무래도 오픈 디비전에서 1등하는 팀이 원래 항상 그냥 뭐 거기에 누구가
I think the first place team from Open
친구들이
Division.
오픈 디비전에서 그만한
We
실력이 있으면
also
1등하는 거잖아요. 이제 그런 것처럼
Do you know a lot of the
저는
players?
오픈 디비전 이렇게 둘러보면서 이 팀이 우승했어, 이 팀 올라나 뭐 이런 생각 정도는 가지고 있어요.
Well, we actually do think that they're very contest. They're pretty strong. The first place I'm scared of the most, but we have to look into Open Division a lot more
저희가
later on when the Crucible time comes.
올라오고 나서 지금까지 딱 그러니까 최하위권이고 오늘뿐만 아니라 오늘과 저번 회차와 둘 다 에이스전만 이렇게 승리를 하긴 했어요. 그래도
And even in part 1, we only won against Ace, no one else, but still
만나서 인사해 주시는 분도 감사하고.
we have a lot of people, a lot of fans, even in game, saying hello all the time in Hero League.
할 테니까 앞으로 남은 경기들 경기력 조금
And we really feel proud and happy about that.
좀잘 지켜봐 주세요.
So keep on rooting for us, even though we are not the highest in rank, actually very low. We are trying hard, really. So keep on rooting for us. Thank you.
감사합니다.
Well, there you have it. Here's our standings after the match. You can see that Feliz is now 2-9. If they're able to win their match against Miracle, and Miracle